Sometimes the life that makes you feel behind doesn't look outrageously rich. It looks controlled. Someone your age posts a photo from a polished workspace with a city view. The laptop is already closed. The workday seems finished. Nothing in the frame looks urgent. And somehow that quiet image makes your own life feel louder. Not because you need the view, because someone else seems done with the day while you still feel chased by yours. For a moment, that life doesn't just look more successful, it looks safer. But why can a photo like that affect you more than someone displaying impossible wealth? Because impossible wealth belongs to another world. This doesn't. The person in the photo is around your age, a few years into a similar career. We rarely compare ourselves most intensely with the person who has everything. We compare ourselves with the person whose life feels close enough to have been ours. And suddenly, there it is. Should I be there by now? Of course, the photo cannot tell you whether that person is actually secure. It cannot show you their savings, their debt, or whether they could afford to leave a bad job. The parts of wealth that make life feel safe are mostly invisible. Time, options, and enough financial room to survive a mistake, or say no without panicking about the cost. Those things are hard to photograph. A polished workspace is not. You understand it in a second. It looks like stability. It looks like progress. It looks like someone whose life is under control. The image cannot prove any of that, but it can suggest it. And sometimes that suggestion stays with someone long after the image disappears. That evening, he notices the worn handle on the bag he carries to work. He's been meaning to replace it. A few minutes later, he reopens a page he saved weeks ago. The new bag is simple. No obvious logo, nothing flashy. Just polished enough to suggest that the person carrying it is organized, competent, and moving forward. He imagines bringing it into the office. But he is not really imagining the bag. He is imagining the entrance, walking into a meeting without adjusting his posture first, setting the bag beside his chair without feeling like the least established person at the table, being read as someone who belongs there before he has to prove it. He hesitates over the payment button. I'll use it every day. It's an investment. I've earned this. Maybe all three statements are true. He does need a new bag. He has worked hard. That is what makes the moment complicated. He buys it. A few days later, he carries it into work. And something changes. He stands a little straighter. He speaks earlier in the meeting. A coworker looks over and says, "You look really put together today." It's a small comment, but it lands. More importantly, he notices himself differently. So the uncomfortable truth is not that the bag failed. For a moment, it worked. He felt more confident, behaved more confidently, and people responded. The confidence was real, but it had started to depend on the evidence being visible. A week later, heavy rain is expected. He does not want to damage the new bag, so he leaves it at home and carries the old one. Nothing dramatic happens. No one laughs, no one comments. Most people probably do not notice. But when he reaches the meeting room, he catches himself placing the old bag under the table instead of beside his chair. No one has treated him differently, but he has hidden the bag anyway. The room has not changed. His knowledge has not changed. Only the evidence is missing. The bag did what a bag could do. It carried his things. It improved the outfit. It helped him enter the room differently. It just couldn't make that version of him permanent. Maybe he was never trying to convince everyone that he was rich. Maybe he was trying to convince himself that he was no longer stuck. Because the bag was only half of what he bought. The other half was the way he imagined he would be seen while carrying it. Taken seriously before speaking. Able to enter the room without first checking whether he looked like he belonged there. That does not make the purchase foolish. Sometimes a good bag is simply a good bag. Quality and style can bring real pleasure. But sometimes, quietly, an object is given another job. His story is specific. The pattern is not. It becomes evidence that we are progressing and that we are not as far behind as we fear. And visible evidence has one major advantage over real security. It gets an immediate reaction. No one compliments an emergency fund. Real security may change a life, but it is difficult to display. A visible symbol works faster. It can be noticed today, while the foundation behind it may take years to feel real. That does not make us shallow. It explains why the symbol is so tempting. The most revealing question is not simply, would I still want it if nobody noticed? Sometimes you would, and that is fine. A better question to ask yourself may be, what job am I asking this object to do for me? Am I asking it to be useful, beautiful, enjoyable? Or am I asking it to prove that I am competent, respected, and finally moving forward? Those desires can exist at the same time. What matters is knowing which one is making the decision. Enjoying an object can be satisfying. Depending on what it seems to prove is different. That proof keeps expiring. There will always be a more polished version of success to imitate. There will always be someone our age who appears to be one decision further ahead. And if every new symbol is supposed to end the feeling of being behind, every symbol will eventually disappoint us. Go back to the first image, the closed laptop, the polished workspace, the sense that nothing in the frame was urgent. Maybe it was never the workspace that felt so desirable. Maybe it was the absence of urgency, the idea of a life with enough room in it, enough room for one mistake, enough room to say no and still feel secure. That may be the real reason looking rich can feel so powerful. It can resemble the life we imagine we would have if nothing felt urgent anymore. Maybe the goal is not to stop enjoying beautiful things. It is to let the bag become a bag again, not evidence that your life is finally okay. Because perhaps the quietest form of wealth is having enough room in your life that nothing has to prove it for you.